We just saw real mummies. We are in Cairo, Egypt at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. I'm gonna get it right, and if I don't get it right, I'm gonna put it in the comments or put it on the screen right now. But what did you think about the mummies?
Okay, so the royal mummies, I thought it was amazing. We went to the tombs. This is way beyond all of that. You get to actually see the mummies as they lay. Well, we hope they're the real ones, that's what we've been told. But anyway, I think it's amazing because you get a chance to see some of them still had hair on their head, some of them still had braids, and they had fingernails and some toenails. Some of them were covered, you couldn't see the feet, some of them you could, but a lot of them you could see the still intact, the ears, the nose was still there, and you could tell that some of the mummification had started maybe when they were very young, so their bodies hadn't really fully developed. But some of the older mummies, which had lived, just say 60 years, their hair color had changed, so I guess we would be looking like it's almost gray. But it was, we couldn't take pictures though. They wouldn't let you take pictures in there. They knew why.
So I was so excited. I took notes because, like my mama said, we could not have our cameras in there. We could not take pictures. So I took some notes, y'all. So the biggest tomb that we saw, I mean, not biggest tomb, but the biggest coffin. No, the coffin, I'm going to say, was Queen Nefertari. Not Nefertini, but Nefertari. She had the biggest, when we first came in there, she had the biggest one. And that's the one who had the braids. And so I was like, them braids have survived thousands of years. So one thing I want to know is that these the coffins, these mummies are coming like from, one of the dates I wrote down was from like 1143 BC. So to give you an idea of how old these mummies are and when these kings and queens ruled, this is the mummies that are there, great rulers at one time. One of the things that my mom mentioned was that these kings and queens and pharaohs were really young. Now, I wasn't paying attention apparently because I was shocked when I seen the ages on the placards near the mummy. So one of the Ramses, I hope I'm saying that right, but I'm putting the names on the screen because we are probably gonna butcher some of these names. Definitely. But we gonna put this fella on the screen. But he died, he ruled for 31 years. So his head was a lot bigger. And then when I looked at the other Ramses, he ruled for 6 years. And I looked at his age, he died at 16. So I'm like, he was ruling at 10?
That's why these kids try to take over. Don't let them take over.
But no, anyway.
Seriously, he was a king at 10.
All right. Now let me tell you, well, I'm going to let my mama tell you about one of the queens that we were told about in Luxor.
The tour guide was telling us about Hatshepsut. I'm probably saying it wrong. Google it, get it right. It reminded me of Hatshepsut. Anyway, she married her half brother because she wanted to have more power, and since her brother would be king, she could have more power if she married him instead of the half brother. But she was only 12 years old. Are you kidding me? A 12-year-old. And she ruled for over 15 years. And she played her husband. That's what the guy said. But anyway, we found out later on, part of that was true and part of it wasn't true. Her father was before her. That's why she wanted to be the next ruler, because her father was like the best ruler they ever had. I can't think of his name, but he was considered like a god. And she wanted to be considered a god. So rumor has it that she also may have dressed like a man.
Hatshepsut dressed like a male so she would be respected as a ruler. My mom and I are overlooking the mummy exhibition, and the videos right now is showing the actual mummies that we saw. We were not able to take pictures, so unfortunately I don't have that on the vlog, but the area was very quiet. When it got a little bit loud at times, the security told us to be quiet, to respect the dead. Essentially, it was just a sight to see. It was so many mummies with the coffins, with plaques, is explaining how long they ruled, their age, and so on and so forth. And so just to really see these dynasties was really just quite the experience. So my mom is entering and being silly as usual as she's entering the area before we are told that we can no longer film. I have 2 questions for you. One, are you coming to Egypt, or are you thinking about coming to Egypt? If the answer is yes, you have to get my Egypt checklist that goes over tips for getting your visa, how to get around in Egypt, and so much more. So click the link in the description to get that sent to your inbox. And second question is, are you subscribed to my channel? If you want to see more travel vlogs, get personal finance tips, you need to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you will be notified whenever I drop a video. Now the other, well, it's not a question, it's a request. Make sure you leave me a comment. It gets my video out to other viewers who may be interested. Now back to my mom and I talking about the importance of fact checking these tour guides.
This is why whenever I take tours and I have a tour guide, I take notes to come back and verify what they said, because some of the stuff he said about the one queen was not accurate, because he said that the husband had outlived her and vandalized, like removed her faces from the temples and stuff that he created. And we get here, found out she outlived her husband. And the craziest thing, if it's true that he couldn't stand her or whatever, they mummies right next to each other. So that was what was funny to me. And she was a great ruler. She had a lot of status that he didn't really go into yesterday, but they did put that on a placard. But what I found funny was her coffin was not there, and some of the mummies, their coffin wasn't there just because of the thieves. They don't have the actual coffins. But it was just, I don't know, it was just a sight to see. And I wanted to come out here and record my thoughts in the moment, like I try to do, so I won't forget nothing.
And some of the coffins were destroyed because of like the flood and the weather. So
yeah,
a lot of them were like found in pieces. They might not be able to verify whose it was, but some were found like that.
Oh, one thing I want to say, I like that they had put the CT scan images of certain mummies, so you can see like what caused their death, and then you can see some of the slits in some of the mummies' throats. And my mom had already mentioned the hair intact. Well, one of the Ramses, I'm gonna tell my business. My feet, I got a second toe that's way longer than the first toe. And that means I'm from greatness, because one of the kings had one. Had that.
A couple of them had that, but the one in particular really had that.
It was one of the Ramses. So I'm like, I'm coming from royalty off the feet. That's the DNA. We don't got to go on Maury. That's my heritage.
No, it's not.
Anyway, we about to go back in here and see some more stuff, but I wanted to come on here and do a recap, and I'll put some more information on this as I'm doing the voiceovers, doing editing. But this is just really a great museum to check out.
And even though we may be joking about stuff, but you should research your history, you should research your culture and other nations, other cultures, so you can learn and teach your children, so they won't be feeling like, oh, I'm learning about that. You have to teach them.
Well, you correctly imitate. But look, I want to say thank you publicly, Mother. Thank you for taking me to museums as a child and having me read books. That's why I love history so much. Thanks, Mother.
And we didn't even have a car, so don't have no excuse.
My mom and I be having a ball, y'all, if y'all could not tell. Very humble beginnings. We really did not have a car, but my mom made sure that we went to museums and we learned our history. And so check out this pre-dynastic dwelling. And let's move on to the royal insignia is being displayed right here. And you see a lot of ankhs. Ankhs are the crosses with a circle on top that represents eternal life. And there's a statue of a pharaoh with water being poured over him. And it's because it is like a purification, similar to a baptism to the sun gods. I've always been interested in polytheistic religions. The reason being is because a lot of ancient religions worship more than one god. And I am currently researching religion before Christianity, or what did ancient Christianity look like? And I was not expecting to get one of those answers right here in the museum. And I actually purchased a book to learn more about ancient Christianity, which Egypt played a big role in, as represented by this Coptic art that you're seeing right now. Egypt was associated with Christianity since its very beginning For after the nativity of Christ in Bethlehem during the reign of Augustus, the Holy Family sought refuge in Egypt, it is believed. This is because Herod was trying to find Jesus and take his life. So it is believed that the family sought refuge in Egypt. I do not believe that there has been any evidence that they were actually in Egypt, but it is noted in the museum. As you can see on the screen, St. Mark the Evangelist came to Alexandria to spread Christianity. Alexandria is in Egypt. It's not too far from Cairo, I believe. So a lot of great information I found out. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. Not sure I'll be able to answer them, but this really does pique my interest. I'm not trying to have a debate about religion. I just like to learn. Did you know that Egypt is credited for inventing writing? I did not know this. And so on the screen, you can see to the left what early writing looked like during ancient times. So I just found this to be very, very interesting. Now let's take a look at more of the museum. Now this is the dwelling, like a cave like that I showed you all in the beginning, and then just a lot of ancient artifacts that are being displayed, from religious factors to early agriculture, building, spears, all that stuff is hanging in the museum. Hi, Mom. And I was very excited to see like accounting records, because the accounting in me wanted to see that. But just all types of artifacts was throughout this museum. A Quran was in the museum, like the invention of banking in Egypt. All that history was here. And of course, they had to have something on relationships. Women could never just be great being single. You see that? Women was wearing shoes to identify their marital status, whether they were single, widowed, or married. Really? So that's it, y'all. That was our day at the museum. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. Oh, check out the next video on screen. All right, until next time. Bye.